Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking journalist Carl Blomquist's absolutely groundbreaking framework on the convergence of anomalous sciences. Against our crisp white background here, we're going to let the clear, colorful graphics and the hard data really shine, diving into cutting-edge physics to decode a true modern mystery. So let's just dive right into this mind-bending number, 0.8 seconds. Now, this isn't just some random fraction of time. It actually represents an event that literally defies classical physics as we know it. It completely sets the stage for everything we're about to explore today. Okay, picture this. In exactly those 0.8 seconds, a tic-tac-shaped unidentified anomalous phenomenon, a UAP, drops from 20,000 feet right down to sea level. That's an average descent speed of about 17,000 miles per hour. It generates these extreme accelerations that absolutely shatter classical aerospace limits. We're talking about G-forces that would, instantly crush human biological structures and just tear conventional airframes completely apart. It's wild. To understand how something like that is even possible, here is our roadmap. We'll quickly cover the UAP anomaly, move into the 9 core sciences, then explore kinematics and metric engineering. After that, we'll look at the quantum consciousness connection, touch on AI and astrobiology, and finally bring it all together with a convergence paradigm. All right, Section 1, the UAP anomaly. Let's get into it. Moving right along to Section 2, the 9 core sciences. Take a look at Blomquist's knowledge graph here. You'll notice these distinct spheres, and they represent 9 highly interconnected disciplines that are absolutely required to properly study UAPs. By drawing lines between these fields, we start to see entirely new, integrated areas of interdisciplinary research popping up. It's like a giant scientific puzzle coming together. Basically, understanding these phenomena requires a true Renaissance approach. We've got to rapidly bridge the gaps between some wildly diverse fields. We're combining UAP observation data with the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We're looking at anti-gravity and faster-than-light theoretical physics right alongside artificial intelligence, quantum physics, and astrobiology. And maybe most surprisingly, we're actively integrating the study of consciousness and telepathy. You see, you simply can't isolate the hardware of these crafts from the biological and quantum realities surrounding them. They're totally linked. Which brings us to Section 3, kinematics and metric engineering. Now, by quantifying the standard 5 observables of UAP kinematics, we see this incredibly stark contrast. Over on the left, you've got our classical limits. A human pilot taps out at around 9 Gs, and a standard airframe fails at around 20 Gs. But on the right, the UAP data reveals over 5,000 Gs of acceleration. They're going from 0 to Mach 20 plus in under a second. And even more mind-blowing, they can achieve speeds exceeding 450,000 miles per hour while completely lacking any thermodynamic signatures. No sonic booms, no heat trails, which completely negates our terrestrial chemical propulsion models. It's a total game changer. So, to understand how they do this, take a look at the Alcubierre warp bubble. For decades, the huge constraint on theoretical warp drives was the need for planetary-scale exotic mass, which is just impossible, right? But recent models suggest we can actually overcome this through something called metric engineering. By using high-intensity electromagnetic fields to create localized space-time curvature, a craft can essentially cancel out its own inertia and completely bypass aerodynamic drag. To put a definition on it, metric engineering allows for a direct conversion between the electromagnetic tensor and the Weyl tensor, which, simply put, is just the mathematical framework governing how space-time curves and bends. Now, this process requires an estimated 4.9 times 10 to the 6th joules of energy, resulting in extremely high electric fields. And you know what? That perfectly explains the dark operational systems we observe where our terrestrial technology, like combustion engines, suddenly just stalls out due to intense air ionization whenever a UAP is nearby. It hits the nail right on the head. Okay, Section 4, the quantum consciousness connection. Let's shift gears a bit. This brings us to the orchestrated objective reduction, or OR theory. For a long time, one of the biggest roadblocks in biology was the warm and wet problem. Basically, asking how delicate quantum states could possibly survive in the messy environment of the human brain. Well, recent models prove that biomolecular cages, specifically the microtubule lattices inside our neurons, actually protect these fragile quantum states for up to 5 nanoseconds. That might sound short, but it's thousands of times longer than theoretically predicted. And we actually have empirical proof grounding this high-level quantum theory right in biological reality. For instance, we know that general anesthetics, like isoflurane, erase consciousness specifically by damping these exact quantum vibrations within the microtubule lattice. Think about that for a second. This strongly suggests that consciousness isn't just some emergent fluke of brain chemistry, but an intrinsic quantum geometric state of the universe itself. Now, if consciousness truly has a quantum foundation, it totally opens the door to non-local cognition, or quantum pseudotelepathy. Cross-disciplinary analysis suggests that mind-to-mind communication might actually be possible via shared quantum entanglement. And we're seeing real, hard empirical data here. fMRI studies of mentalists showed distinct right parahippocampal gyrus activation during successful telepathic tasks. So actually, scratch that whole science fiction label, this is becoming measurable, observable neuroscience. Moving on to Section 5, AI and astrobiology. To process all this anomalous data, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence is shifting really rapidly from passive listening to intense, high-speed data computation. Through cutting-edge partnerships with systems like NVIDIA's WholeScan platform, deep learning architectures are bypassing traditional, super expensive dedispersion techniques. This is completely revolutionizing our astronomical data intake. The numbers here represent an absolutely massive leap forward. I mean, we're seeing a 600-fold speed breakthrough in signal detection alone. The data handling is churning at 86 gigabits per second, which means it's operating 160 times faster than previous constraints. These AI milestones are absolutely crucial because they empower initiatives like the Galileo project to autonomously fuse multi-sensor data from visible, infrared, and radio spectrums. It allows researchers to rapidly filter out mundane objects, like birds or weather balloons, dramatically reducing false positive errors by tenfold. That lets us identify the true technosignatures hidden away in the cosmic noise. And finally, Section 6, the convergence paradigm. We have officially reached the dawn of a new scientific era, what Blomquist calls the convergence hub. Just look at how beautifully these colored branches connect on the graphic. On the left, we've got the seemingly impossible UAP data and metric engineering. In the center, quantum coherence in the brain and non-local correlations. And on the right, that high-throughput AI data filtering we just talked about. They all flow perfectly into a single, fundamental paradigm shift, where the impossible actually becomes empirical. This deep, interconnected relationship is captured perfectly by James Lakatsky. He's the former head of a covert U.S. government UFO program, and he states flatly that we can no longer compartmentalize physics from consciousness when studying these superposition states. The physics-breaking maneuvers and the psychic effects are inextricably linked. As he puts it, the relationship is simply unavoidable. This profound connection builds directly into Donald Hoffman's interface theory. He mathematically models our standard 3D spacetime not as a fundamental reality, but merely as a biological headset used by human consciousness. It's like a VR headset we all wear. Beyond that headset lies a much deeper, vastly more complex conscious dynamic structured around what researchers term Markovian polytopes. In this view, classical physics is just a tiny, special, limiting case of a much larger, much weirder reality. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you to ponder this unified conclusion. If our perception of 3D spacetime is really just a biological user interface, are these physics-breaking UAP kinematics simply the result of a non-human intelligence operating entirely outside the limiting constraints of our reality? It's a huge question, and honestly, it changes how we look at the skies and ourselves forever. Thank you so much for diving into the data with us today.